But I think one thing, just to kind of bring it up, because I know a lot of times we joke about being the intern, the PA, getting the coffee and stuff like that. There's a difference between like paying your dues and being abused, right? So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're being abused and you think that, oh, this is a part of the game. No, abuse is abuse. Like if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel like you are not being respected, hey, you got to walk away sometimes, right?
Magic Music Production.
You are now listening to the Going North podcast with your host, author and speaker, Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday, you're going to hear the voice of a different author share their stories, expertise, and their struggles that they had to overcome in life to leave you inspired to get more out of your life. Be sure to not only listen to this episode, but share with others, connect with the authors, and always advance others to advance yourself. Now let's get on with the show. Check it out. It's another round of gratitude, baby. I just want to give a quick shout out to a guy who recently celebrated a birthday, Lowell Swain, man. We go way back, like CCBC, way back, man. Years ago, college days, baby, man. Congrats again on making another year on the planet, man. Late 20s, man. Late 20s, 28 years on the planet, man. If you're dyslexic, it's 82. So my man's got the wisdom to boot at a young age. Not position though, man. Lowell, happy belated birthday to you, man. Keep doing awesome things, man. And looking forward to all the wonderful things that's going to be happening to you in the future, bro. And today on the show that interviews extraordinary humans who are ordinary like you and me, it's the Going North podcast, baby. And today is no different. Let me tell you a bit about today's guest. He's not just a film critic, but a writer, producer, and director, as well as a jack of all film trades, baby. A jack of all film trades. And he recently released a book called Army of One, PR marketing for the indie filmmaker. So this podcast is going in a different direction once again to bring you folks with expertise in all sorts of areas of life. And the wonderful thing about this wonderful guest is the fact that after he received his MFA in Film and Electronic Media from the American University in Washington, D.C. back in 2011, he took his love for film to the next level by creating and producing Picture Lock, an entertainment website, radio show / podcast, an hour-long film review TV show. This wonderful author right here has served as the director of the Rosebud Film Festival since 2013. So 6 years and counts. This guy's a six-pack here. And he's created the DC Black Film Festival in 2016 in an effort to create a space to exhibit quality productions by and about people of African descent. So Wakanda forever, my friends. Wakanda forever. But don't worry, the colonizers are welcome here. It's okay. You just don't colonize. They probably want
Oh, man, this is one of the greatest intros ever. I love it.
Oh, man. Well, I gotta read any more of this man's strong long biography. Let's welcome the KS himself, the one, the only Kevin D. Sampson. How are you today, sir?
What's going on, Dom, man? I appreciate you having me on. Thank you for that lovely intro. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm not sure if I'm going to edit that one or keep it in because that was hilarious.
Keep it, bro. Keep it. Sometimes you gotta roll with that stuff, man. It's what brings the humanity to, these podcasts that, for the most part are cleaned up. We can take out the uhs and ums and all that good stuff. But yeah, keep it.
You know what, Fudge? I'll probably keep it. Heck, I'm planning to name one of the upcoming episodes. Well, probably one of the past episodes when this goes live is the. It's going to be called Chocolate, Pumpkin Spice, and the Warrior Princess.
What? Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look out for that one.
yeah. Me and the wonderful Jen Taylor had a great conversation, and she doesn't like pumpkin spice. I was surprised. Yeah. Well, enough about pumpkin spice. My man's a newly minted author, baby. So, what led to you publishing this book, man? Because it's like it got all of these eggs in the basket right after Easter of different colors, and you're adding another egg known as publishing a book, man. So, what led to that?
Man, where do you want to start, Don? We could go way, way back, or we could just kind of go, kind of more recent. I think one of the things, as you kind of talked about, film has been one of those things that it's just always been in my life, man. When I was a kid, I didn't realize it, but it was my passion. It was I wanted to watch TV and movies over playing video games with my brother. He'd be in the other room playing video games and want me to play, but I'd be like, nah, I gotta watch this movie. It's just something that has always been there. I went to college. My major was media arts. Like I wasn't one of those kids that like shifted with what he wanted to do. I knew I wanted to get into film, and once I graduated, got the MFA and all that good stuff, kind of settled down with the family. One of the things I learned in grad school was that I really enjoyed film criticism. And so, as you had illuminated earlier, I started Picture Lock, and it started out as just a blog. And then, that was back in the day when I was hustling. I was on advancedscreenings.com trying to find out where the advanced screenings were so that I could go ahead and do the write-up ahead of time, and put it up on the blog so people would go check it out. And then, that just ballooned into now being a part of the Broadcast Film Critics Association, which focuses on the Critics' Choice Awards, DC Film Critics Association, North Carolina Film Critics Association. So I say all that to say this book is the culmination of so many different years. And within those years, seeing so many great films on the indie film side. Honestly, I feel like the movies that we get in the theater, they have their place. They're great in terms of popcorn blockbusters, but I think the indie film scene is where the real stories are at, and you can even tell that by the way that kind of award season comes around. So in the late fall, that's when you're going to start to see a lot of these films that are going to be Oscar contenders. So what I got kind of tired of as a film critic is going to so many film festivals, seeing these great films that we never hear from them again. And then, as you said, running the Rosebud Film Festival, which really kind of served for deeply personal filmmaking, and then wanting to create a space, which maybe we can get into later, for films of people of African descent with the DC Black Film Festival. I see all these films and I see all these great stories, but not everyone is exposed to them. So what I wound up doing is creating an online course, and that's PR for the Indie Filmmaker. You can see it at prfortheindiefilmmaker.com. And with that course, I kind of really take the viewers and students through from pre-production to post-production, how you can make sure that your film doesn't just get made, get seen in your mom's basement, and then hits, the shelf as history. But one of the things that I always knew was, that course, it might be a little bit uneconomical for some, and, economical for others. But I knew that a book is, everybody has, $20, right? Like if you just put that aside, you stop drinking a couple Starbucks coffees, you got that. And so I knew that if I could put all my knowledge of the filmmaking process from the business side, as being a film festival director, being a film critic, and then being a filmmaker myself, I could empower those voices so that, we ensure that we see diverse storytelling, and that we are able to see some of these great stories that I think the general public doesn't get to see.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. You like, man, forget your Xbox, man. I need to see this movie, man.
Right. Most definitely, man. I mean, and my brother and I, we joke about that even to this day, man. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding. That is one thing, man. You just never know. Following that passion, following that thing that you just can't seem to let go of, it can always produce something good.
Heck yeah, man. And you're definitely right about that. It's like the whole popcorn blockbuster thing is like they're always trying to get something to sell. It's kind of like why they're going back to a lot of comic book movies as big draws, because it's like everybody wants to be a superhero, but there's always other stories too that folks will probably never get a chance to see or hear, and you're helping folks to get that message out there, because there's a lot of hidden gems under there, not just hidden figures or hidden colors, but also hidden gems as well.
Yeah, man, most definitely. I mean, I think it would be interesting to poll even your listeners to see how many of your listeners actually go to film festivals. It's definitely, obviously it's in my lane. It's something that I do. I go to multiple festivals per year. But when you do, it's this enrichment. And the thing that I love the most about Film Dom is that when the lights go out, color doesn't matter. It's like we're just one viewing body, right? And we take in these stories, and I feel like film reflects life, right? It's a mirror to who we are as human beings. I say this, I think in the forward of the book, is that, if actually it's another book that I'm actually writing right now, but it's that if aliens wanted to know about human beings, all they would have to do is pick up a bunch of movies, right? And they could study us, and they would know like how we act, different situations that we go through. And, I think the movies really reflect and put a mirror up to who we are as human beings. And so for me personally, I feel as though film is one of the most powerful art forms on earth. I think music probably is first, just because it's so easily accessible. But I do think that film has its place. Film is where a lot of things, can change. We think about, man, I forgot the title of the film, but the one back in the day that came out with changed SeaWorld and just basically kind of shut that whole thing down, that documentary. I mean, there's so many documentaries, Supersize Me, If Forks Over Knives. There, you can name these different films that come through and open our eyes. And that's just on the documentary level. We're not even talking about narrative films and, how they move us, how they hit and affect the culture. So to me, I feel like it's very important to empower filmmakers, again, to be able to get their voice out, to be heard, because if we only hear from the same voices, the same big studios, then that's going to shape the culture. And I don't think that is something that should be happening.
Yeah, man, you're definitely right about that, man. And you're right. Film is definitely a more powerful medium because it also combines music too. Because it's like, yeah, you got certain music to like set a scene, and then of course you're hitting more than just the ears. You're hitting the eyes, ears, and as well as possibly the other senses too. So yeah,
Yep.
it's still a more powerful medium. That's why a lot of videos do so well on social media than regular pictures, because it's like, yo, it's moving. It's someone in real life, somewhat.
Right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct, man. It does combine all of the arts. And I think that skilled directors and, just production teams have a great way of combining them all to really affect us and move us.
Yeah, man. And not just north or south either.
Nah, it's the Going North podcast, bro.
This is good. You're still awake. This is good. All right. The dad jokes haven't made you run away yet. This is good.
No.
Heck, I haven't even busted out the tree joke yet, so that's good. Yeah, my man's still.
Uh oh. Not the tree joke. It makes me, man, I'm sorry. I gotta always bring it back to movies. That makes me think of Back to the Future when Biff is like, make like a tree and split. And like it's leave, Biff. Oh man.
Wait, didn't they mention that in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air too of Carlton?
I think so. I think
Heck yeah, man. That's right. Speaking of Back to the Future, man, it's really awesome that you actually not only are a film critic, but you're also create a platform for folks of African descent to have their voice and just share their visual art with everyone else. So tell us a bit more about the wonderful DC Black Film Festival and how that came about.
yeah. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Was that Dom enough for you? Yeah, man, let me tell you about that. So the way that DC BFF actually came about, it's a really, I feel like it's a cool story. 2014, Like a Man 2 comes out, right?
Right.
And as a film critic, I was super excited. I was like, man, Think Like a Man 1 was, to me, a sleeper hit because, it showed Black love on the big screen, and then on top of that, they were playing for each other's hearts. So the stakes were there. So to me, I was surprised at how good the film was. So I'm thinking, all right, Think Like a Man 2, Think Like a Man 1 was good. 2 is going to be awesome. And it wound up being the Kevin Hart show. Now, you guys, I mean, everybody kind of knows like what that means, right? And this was like 2014, like this isn't even 2019. He's a huge superstar, right? But the issue with that is that it lost the stakes and the heart. And so for me, I was kind of upset because I was like, man, we only get, and I'm talking about as African Americans, we only get a few big blockbusters a year where it's like, predominantly Black cast, and we're able to kind of see ourselves on the big screen. Because I don't get me wrong, I think everyone should be able to see themselves on the big screen. But the issue for me was that we only see ourselves only so much. I felt like it was a waste. So I was super upset. I got home. I wrote this open letter to Black screenwriters, posted it on the website, and boom, that kind of took fire. I got some folks in Hollywood were, responding, and, we're talking on social media and everything. And so what it kind of sparked for me to do was to start a Kickstarter, because again, being a filmmaker, I wanted to create a documentary, and it was going to be called The Hollywood Blackout. And so we were going to be exploring diversity and the lack thereof in Hollywood. And so what I did was I started this Kickstarter, and I thought, hey, I need $30,000 to make a good documentary, right? But Kickstarter has this way of, man, it's a hustle, it's a grind. People don't just get on and say, hey, I need 30K. Like, it's really well planned. For the most part, I think in ideas like films, you definitely have to build your audience. And so the Kickstarter failed. And that failure was a good lesson for me, because it was one of those things where it was embarrassing. I think, I don't remember, I could look it up. I think we might have rose like 5K, which, it's nothing to scoff at, but it's definitely a drop in the bucket for 30K. So yeah, it had that sting of embarrassment, but I did realize that there were still people out there that were feeling the same way that I was. And so I had been directing the Rosebud Film Festival for a little bit of time, and I knew that I always wanted to kind of start my own film festival. And the opportunity presented itself where, I could go ahead and get it started. And I figured, hey, if I can't expose the issue via documentary, at least I could start something where I'm doing what I say I want to have seen by creating a place and a platform where stories that are by and or about people of African descent can be seen through the film festival. And that's what's been going on for the past couple years. We're about to go into year 3, August 15th through 17th of this year. We'll have our third festival. And I mean, the response has been great. We had a 75% increase over last year with our submissions. So, the word is getting out and people are definitely trying to submit. And it's really awesome to be able to, lift these voices. And like I said, it's not just like, Black folks that are submitting, it's sometimes our only stipulation is that one or more of the above line crew needs to be of African descent. Right. So one, it's not asking for a whole lot. Just one person has to pretty much be Black. That's either the director, the writer, producer, or, lead cast. And so what that does is that makes sure that we don't exclude people, but we're also trying to make sure that, hey, there's this inclusivity on the decision makers on your film, that somebody of African descent is on there. And so it's great just to be able to see all these different stories from people of various backgrounds that either focus on Black issues, or there's a Black person that's kind of at the helm that wrote the script. And, it's just great. It's great to see each year.
All right, man. So quick question, man. So if they have somebody Black in film, that's good. But what if they die like the first half hour? Do y'all shut them off and be like, get the heck out of here?
Oh, man.
Whose man is this?
Whose man is this? Man. Dom, you just got 5 million cool points for knowing that right there, boy. That's social media, the power of social media. Oh, man. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where that's such a hypothetical, but if we saw the film and it was obvious that once that Black character left the film, their presence was still felt, I think that probably would definitely be okay. You still consider them a lead, right? I think about a film like Moonlight, right? Mahershala Ali is in that first act and then he's gone, right? But you still feel his presence as his somewhat son figure, I guess you'd say. He grows up and he's still trying to be that man that Mahershala Ali's character was for him when he was a kid, right? So I think that there's a way that it can be handled, and that's probably how we would handle it.
Okay, because Sirius says all right, if you got a Black person on the roster, you win. But it's all right, we're gonna put somebody on the roster, all right. Nowhere. All right, man, you're down in the first half hour. What? Yep. We get that film festival, baby. We're colonizing the day, baby.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think it's not any Jurassic Parks and stuff like that. Back in the day, how the Black dude dies in the first 10 minutes, or he's the one that gets sacrificed first. No, it's not like that. But I mean, even this year we had a fantastic film from a student named, the film's title was Masks. And we literally had to, email the director and say, hey, this is the stipulation. Can you tell me how this film actually makes, it could make it into the festival, because it wasn't apparent, it was a multi-ethnic cast, but I think it was Iranian descent, right? And I could be wrong, but same thing for the director, but the producer on the film was of African descent. So, sometimes we show films and you'd be like, hey, wait, there's no Black people in there. And that's fine. The Black person must have been on the director or the producer or the writer, somebody that you don't see physically on the screen, but, definitely had something to do with the film being brought to fruition in a major way.
There we go. All right, there we go. There it is, baby.
Yeah.
You're doing that one for me this episode, babe.
I
What's
got you.
happening?
I got you, Dom. I got you.
Yeah, that's right, my man Kevin in the building, baby. That's right. That's right, big homie Kev. Well, you mentioned a really powerful thing about how the whole Kickstarter thing wasn't a massive success, but you were able to at least make at least a good 1/6 of the goal. So basically, after that, and then just starting the whole film festival, what led to actually just the book itself? So it's like Army of One. So what led to the title Army of One?
The title came from, man, if you're really on the indie film circuit, like you have to be or wear multiple hats. And so you become your own little army. And it's like going to war in some ways. Maybe not like physical war, but like I'm talking about, just making sure that your film doesn't die, right? On the festival circuit, with distribution. There's so much into making sure that all the hard work and effort put into creating a film, right? Because it's hard enough to bring a film into fruition. You gotta, let's say it's a narrative, you gotta write the script, and then you go into pre-production, figure out how you're gonna get the locations and all that kind of stuff, and the actors, and you do casting. You gotta figure out what kind of camera you wanna use, who's gonna shoot the footage. I can keep going on, but there's so much, and we haven't even shot it yet. Now we shoot it, you got that space of time, and then in post-production, you gotta put it together. Man, that was a lot. But it still just rests on your computer unless you get it out in front of the public. And so if you catch my drift, man, there's so much that goes into making a film. And then from there, the question is, how can I get people to see this? Well, you could hit the festival circuit. And as I talk about kind of in my book, you could try to get your film on Netflix or Hulu, and through other aggregate services. You could, there's online streaming platforms. So there's many ways to try to make sure that your film doesn't just get made and then die off, but instead that folks see it. And I think back in the day, probably the big dream was make a film and then get it in theaters. Well, now with this little thing called technology and the internet, yeah, you can definitely make some money off of your film in the back end. And I think for a lot of indie filmmakers, making your film and getting it into a four-wall theater, that's not really the dream anymore. The dream is to make your film and recoup the money that you spent making it. And I think a lot of times with those indie filmmakers, those passionate filmmakers who have great stories to tell, they don't understand that there is that this is a film business, and the business side of it is engaging the public before you start rolling that film, so that they know, hey, this film is coming, so that once the film is made, the baby is here, you have a family that can surround this baby, help it to mature and grow, and help it to be seen by other people. And so that's really what I wanted to try to capture and give all that information in the course, of course, which is a little bit more robust. And, I have a PR company, PictureLock PR, picturelockpr.com. And so as a part of the course, I give 30 minutes, kind of one-on-one phone call and stuff. But with the book, you can kind of glean most of that information, but at a more economical, again, price point. And so Army of One, the title really comes from the fact that you really have to be so many different people, fulfill so many different roles as one person in the indie film market can.
Heck yeah, man, you're right about that. Shout out to my buddy Matt Parrish of Parrish Films, who even sometimes stars in his own films, because it's like, man, somebody don't show up, and then the fake gun gets lost, and then you in the computer lab trying to record because your computer at home acting up. And it's like, yeah, man, you got to get the thing out there, too. It's like,
That's it.
yeah. Yes, indeed. Ever had any issues of possibilities of like, you know what? It's kind of almost like the Dr. Dre detox thing. It's like you got this album that's done, but you got the whole perfectionist syndrome where it's like it's got to be perfect, but you ain't gonna put it out there until it's perfect.
Yeah, I think as artists, any artist, man, your craft, your art is your baby, and you really want to put out the best piece of work that you can. But at the same time, I think that there does come a time where, hey, you just got to let it go. I think one of the things that I suggest filmmakers do in the book is make sure that you have a screening before you actually take it to the film festival circuit. With PR companies, they always screen, well, not always, most of the time, they'll screen their film ahead of time so that they can get audience reaction. What worked for you? Did the audience laugh when they're supposed to? Did they cry when they're supposed to? And if there's anything that, the feedback that they get, they take that back to the editing floor, and then they come back with a different version of the film based on the feedback that they receive from the audience. And I think that's one thing that any filmmakers don't do. They just, finally, my film is done, but they don't take the time to make it the best film that it can be. And I think that that's one way that you can do that is by, having a screening ahead of time, just so that you can get some of that audience feedback, find out what works, what doesn't. Recently on my show, I had Stefan Bristol. Stefan is the director of See You Yesterday, which is just on Netflix, hit, I guess, a little over a month ago. But he actually, his short film, See You Yesterday, came through DC Black Film Festival in our first year. And then in the meantime, he went away, he made it a feature-length film. And one of the things that he said was that, in terms of, the film is about young two teenage prodigies that her brother is killed at the hands of the police. So she invents this time machine to go back to try to stop it. And, so he said that, one of the things was, explaining time travel was a difficult thing. But they were able to get a lot of feedback through screening the film ahead of time, and therefore they could take it back to the cutting room floor and make it better for when it went on to Netflix for people to be able to consume. So that's one of those things, I think, just to kind of answer your question. Yeah, you always want to kind of be a perfectionist with the craft, but if you take the time to get feedback, you don't really have to worry about the perfection as much, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Got to get over the perfection right there. That's right. Be like, yeah, make it the best, but don't try to make it extremely perfect, even as an artist.
There you go.
Sometimes you just got to be satisfied with the little green bush in the corner, Bob Ross style.
Oh, man. All right. You are crazy. But that would be a good time for Deadpool to come in and do something.
Yep, that's right. Grabs the bush like if your bush, just slashes it and then throw it at a truck.
You're a wild man.
Not Van Wilder though, right? Let me stop.
Hey man, we can keep doing these references. Man,
Is,
I'm down. I'm game.
That's true. And funny enough, references will probably run out. It'll be like a knife and a gunfight. It's like, yeah, man, this Uzi ready for you. I got 999 movie references, and you haven't even heard about 500 of them. Like, oh shoot, okay.
Right, because I said I'm game. I was gonna be like The Game, 1997 Michael Douglas film. But no, we don't have to do that, man. What's up? What's up?
Oh, man. Awesome indeed. Awesome indeed. Well, in addition to your wonderful podcast and the wonderful book helping out indie filmmakers with PR and whatnot, what will probably be the best advice you would give to someone who's looking to get into film and they need somewhere to start after they may go to college or whatever and get a degree, or heck, even for those who want to take the full entrepreneurial route and better themselves and get it out there?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. You know, I love giving back to the youth, and colleges asked me to come and speak a little bit about different topics within film, or as I was able to do with my alma mater, just going to American University and speaking to the class about what happens life after film school. And so one of the things that I suggest is that while you're in film school, if you choose that route, get as much experience as you can. You know, when you got that thesis film, like, shoot for the stars. Like, that's one time when, you know, people will really bend over to kind of help you get your thing done, when you're able to say, hey, I'm a student, I'm making, you know, my thesis film. We need to get a pool, you know, lounge for this one scene. We will make sure we show the exterior of the lounge, but it'll probably take X amount of time, et cetera, et cetera. So just kind of, you know, using that to your advantage. If you don't, you know, have the ability to shoot a feature, man, shooting as many shorts, as many music videos as possible, so that you build that resume, that portfolio, so that you can put that up online. And, you know, honestly, like, some people, they can walk out of film school and, you know, kind of have jobs, you know, just producing, because as you and I were talking about earlier, Dom, video is something that everybody kind of wants and needs for content and staying relevant in social media, but most people don't know how to shoot it. So if you're a filmmaker and you want to make your own films, well, one great way to earn some money on the side is to shoot for other people, whether it's corporate commercials or promo spots, or even shooting weddings and things like that. So one thing I would definitely suggest is just making sure you get experience. Know where you want to be, and then study how to get there, right? So if you want to be a screenwriter, well, you need to figure out how people get into writing rooms, right? Should you intern at a studio and try to get into the writing room? You definitely should be writing scripts throughout the process. Editing, definitely. You want to be an editor, that's definitely a need. People always need somebody that can edit. So just making sure that you offer yourself up to as many productions as possible, so that your name kind of gets out there and your skills increase as well. So that's one of the things I think that folks could do. If you don't go the film school route, which a lot of people don't do, I think it's a matter of getting on local productions. You know, you start out as a PA on set, production assistant, and you know, you're just seeing how a film or TV or commercial set works. The biggest piece of advice is to absorb and initiate. So by that, I mean knowing how to kind of, I hate to say it, like, I don't want it to come across as crass, but like, be quiet, watch, absorb what's going on, and then find out moments and areas that you can initiate. You know, if you see that the first AD, first assistant director, is going to need their clipboard, or they're going to be calling people to do XYZ, well, hey, grab that clipboard for them, pass it to them, go ahead and start to corral people together. You know, taking that initiative is the thing that will really separate you from the pack. People that are just there to get that check versus people that are there to make sure that the production comes to fruition in as best a way as possible. And so I think, again, like, if you're not going the film school route, that's a way that you can really kind of learn how films are made and created from a behind the scenes kind of way. The other thing is like, obviously YouTube is our friend, Google is our friend. It will definitely show you, and you can learn. Podcasts are definitely a great way. I know my man Alex Ferrari has Indie Film Hustle podcast, and he actually has just launched Indie Film Hustle TV, which has tons of, kind of how-to documentaries and films and all that kind of stuff. So there's definitely ways to learn without having to go to school. But those are just, hopefully that answers your question. Those are some of the things that come to mind, and some of the things that I talk to students about when I do go to colleges.
That's what I'm talking about. Skills, baby. Servant leadership. That's right. You can't just be there, be like, all right, I'm going to sit right here with my special hat and get this check. I ain't going to pay for no rent. Nah, I'm going to make sure you get that coffee, make sure it's nice and hot, even if it's a hot day. So that way y'all invite me back so I can get more game from y'all. That's right.
Yeah, that's right, Dom. But, I think one thing, just to kind of bring it up, because I know a lot of times we joke about being the intern, the PA, getting the coffee and stuff like that. There's a difference between like paying your dues and being abused, right? So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're being abused and you think that, oh, this is a part of the game. No, abuse is abuse. Like if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel like you are not being respected, hey, you got to walk away sometimes, right? Because the dream is not worth your self-worth and dignity, etc. So I do want to make that distinction that, there's a difference between paying your dues and, grabbing the coffee, but that's a part of the job, right? Maybe you're getting paid to do it, or you're interning in college, but yet at the same time you're respected, right? You can tell that, hey, people will pull you to the side. They give you some of the tricks of the trade. They're still looking out for you, versus like actually being just abused, like, yeah, go get my coffee, but you're not really learning anything and given any opportunities to grow.
Great point right there, man. That's right. Got to avoid the casting couch, man.
Yes, definitely you want to avoid that whole casting couch. That's not cool at all.
Well, since you mentioned the youth earlier, if you yourself were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again in the current year of 2019, what advice would you give to yourself?
First would be, hey, stay away from that late night pizza and, ice cream and donuts and whatever. It's going to catch up with you. That would be one. Two, I think I would tell myself to take more risks. I think that, and especially in the African-American community, we don't get that many opportunities to kind of just do stuff and mess up, right? Because so many times we're trying, like we have to be even better than the next person just to be heard, right? And that's a difficult thing. And so sometimes that steeps into I know it steeps into our psyche and sometimes our work. And so I think I would tell myself, go for it, take more risks, because I feel like I've had so many great ideas, but the fear of, man, where's the money going to come from to do that? Where is the audience going to come to get behind that, and just saying, you know what, it's, you feel it in your spirit and your soul, and like, you need to do this, just do it. And at the end of the day, like, I honestly, those questions are always tough because what you're trying to get at, and that's those nuggets. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't change the journey, man. Like at 25, I know I got married, and that's the life that I wanted to live and to lead. So while I would tell myself to take risks, I do feel as though I think just soaking up every moment. You know what I mean? And this is getting away from film and getting away from all that to just like living life. Like, take risks, but enjoy every moment, because man, these chapters they flip so quick, and before you know it, man, that book is closed. You know what I mean? Like straight
You're right.
up.
You're right.
I I remember being a kid just a while ago. Like we were at the preface, the introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2. Now, chapter 35, and I'm just like, whoa, where did all these chapters come from? So yeah, man, it's a mixture of just taking risks and going after it. Because I definitely think that you have to step outside of the box of society and the boxes that people put us in order to actually lead the pack. But at the same time, just remembering to enjoy the journey, because the journey is what makes us. The journey is what equips us with the ability to be called an expert in X field. It's the failure that produces champions, right? Because when you fall, as we learned in Batman Begins, it's all about getting back up, right, Alfred? Oh, yeah.
You'll be saying that all week.
I think I will, man. The first time I heard your podcast, man, I was just like, that was the one that, like, I don't even remember what episode it was. I just remember, oh, yeah. It was actually a good episode. Like the woman on it was talking about maybe it was marketing or social media marketing or something like that. But like that was one of the big, that's an awesome catchphrase, man. I might steal it from my show on occasion.
Sure.
You heard it here, folks.
Wait a second. I said no colonizing. What the hell? Let me stop.
Apologize.
Well, speaking of podcasts, for those who want to keep in touch with you, know what you're doing, and check out your podcast, what's the best way to keep up with the wonderful KS himself?
Man, I'd love for folks to do that. You can, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, TuneIn, all that good stuff. If you're a fan of Alexa skills, just say, hey, Alexa, play Picture Lock podcast, and I come right up right there. PictureLockShow.com is where I do all my movie reviews, and that's where the podcast lives as well. Every Friday, if you live in the DC area, I give my weekend movie review on Let's Talk Live DC. So if you follow me on social media at Picture Lock Show, everything is at Picture Lock Show. But on my Instagram, I usually post every Friday my review for the week. So, there's definitely ways to keep up with me and definitely reach out. I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what I'm talking about right there. Be sure to reach out indeed. Heck, if you're in the DMV, DC area, heck, if you're in Wyoming, head on out to the Black DC Film Festival, baby. So it was August 15th through the 17th, right?
Yeah, man, it's August 15th through 17th. We're going to be at the Miracle Theater in Southeast DC, as well as the Mayflower Hotel in Northwest DC. So the Mayflower is this historic, beautiful hotel. Many presidents have stayed there, and so we're excited to partner with them. If you want to come in town and have a place to stay, you can definitely hit up dcbff.org for details on hotel accommodations. And we're going to have ticket packaging and pricing up pretty soon here. But it's going to be an exciting time, man. The Miracle Theater is, again, it's like a historic theater that has been preserved. Church actually owns it right now, but and they're great people. They do kind of like second run films in the theater week to week, but then they'll have like film festivals that come in, and so we've been with them since day one. We're expanding a little bit where we'll actually be there and having some screenings at the Mayflower Hotel. So it's definitely gonna be dope for folks that stay at the Mayflower on Saturday morning. You wake up and you just like push the elevator down and boom, you're at the festival. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a fun and exciting time. But again, dcbff.org for more details.
That's right. Go to that film festival, make some new BFFs, baby. That's right.
Oh, man. The dad jokes are killing tonight. Yeah, right.
When in doubt, just squat down and tuck your knees, because that's how we roll here.
Wow. Wow. That was actually that was a good dad joke, man. That was a good dad joke. Just squat down, because I was like, what in the world? Squat down and get your eagle on. What?
Oh, hell no.
What?
No.
Squat down, tuck your knees, and roll. No, say it again, because I got to tell it to my kids tomorrow.
Yep. Just squat down, tuck your knees, and that's how I roll.
All right, that's it. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes, indeed. That's right. Find your BFF at that film festival, and then head over to the wonderful Picture Lock. My man Kevin keeping it on lock, baby. That's right. Keeping it on lockdown, baby. That's right.
That's it, man. And then another healthy plug. If you want to check out the book, go to armyofoneBook.com, and you can find out more information about the book and all that good stuff. If you want to take the online course, it's prfortheindiefilmmaker.com. Again, like, man, dude, Dom, my whole goal and mission is just to expose the machine that is, Hollywood, and help more voices break through. And I think that, and it's the time that we live in, it's so much easier to do than when Spike Lee was coming through and he had to buy hook or crook, get a film made, right? Malcolm X wasn't coming through until Oprah, Michael Jordan, all those folks threw in some money to get it made. So now it's, hey, man, Issa Rae, you throw that great web series up on YouTube, you never know. Insecure is huge show now. You know what I mean? So, like, all I'm trying to do is make sure that these indie filmmakers know what they should be doing from every stage of the process to be better equipped to come out on top on the other side.
That's right, on top. Like that Beyonce song, right? Or is that Mary J. Blige?
Love on Top? Nah, you got it. It's Beyonce. Good one. Good one.
That's right, on top. Let me stop.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
So the folks be like, man, did y'all have a whole freaking blunt before y'all?
Oh, man. It is kind of late as we record this. So, no, I did not. I don't do drugs. But, but it is late, brother. It is late.
That's right. It's late, but we're coming out the gate, baby. So any parting words for our wonderful listener?
I'm still getting over the fact that you just sounded like, it's Paul Wall, baby. That's what that sounded like.
They don't know, man. They don't know.
Yeah. Parting words, my brother. One, it's really cool to be an author, and I think that it's great that your podcast kind of focuses on people that are really giving back. Because I think, honestly, for me personally, I believe that books are a way to impart knowledge. And part of the reason that I wanted to write this book was because I feel as though in many ways, like, online courses, they may, if you don't pay that bill, then, it's going to go the way of the dodo. But like with books, we have libraries, we have ways that we preserve words. And so being able to impart knowledge and know that, the technology may change and the game may change, but 50 years down the line, 100 years from now, hopefully Army of One PR for the indie filmmaker will still be on some shelf. And I got some other books, but the fact that you're able to focus on other authors that might not be in the same field as me, but they're, experts in their lane, and they're trying to help people be better and do better. It's a great thing. So once again, I appreciate you having me on. And again, if any of your listeners are filmmakers or they got a filmmaker in their life, please feel free to reach out. Again, social media is at Picture Lock Show. Or you can go to my website, picturelockshow.com, and get in touch with me through the site.
How's it going, you super special, awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode. Heck, even shoot myself or the guest an email and let them know what you liked most about this interview, so that way they can stay inspired to keep pushing out great work.